Hi everyone, it's Adam Cockburn here at Lowe Co Realty, and we're here to look at the Wellington region property market, looking at the data for January 2022, first month of the year. Happy New Year to everyone, and we're comparing that to the same time a year ago and 2 years ago. And do we ever have an interesting market out there, folks? I'm sure some of you are noticing it if you are active out there in the market. We've seen prices fall over the last a little while in Wellington, and we have got more choice in terms of number of listings out there for buyers, more choice than we have seen in Wellington for many, many years indeed. So let's get into the detail, but certainly is good news out there for those of you who are buyers who actually can raise the money to buy something. So let's look at the numbers in more detail. Median sale price, January 2022, 911,000 compared to 795 for January 2021. That's still up 15%. 15% is a lot less than we've seen typically in the last couple of years on an annual price movement basis for median sale price. But if you look there at the last 4 months results, you can see there that in each of the 3 months in the last quarter of 2021, October, November, December, the median sale price was all around the high 900s, and in January dropped down to 911. So that's quite a big drop off since what we were seeing in the fourth quarter last year. Now, does that actually mean that underlying values have actually changed that significantly, or is that more a reflection of the mix of properties being sold? I never pay too much attention, to be honest with you, to the median sale price for that reason, because it isn't necessarily reflective of the underlying values, but is as much a reflection of the mix of properties being sold. So for that reason, I pay more attention to the Real Estate Institute House Price Index. So let's have a look at that now. That is showing a pullback in underlying values for the month of January. So if you look there in Wellington, down 2.9% in that 1 month alone, and the nationwide down 1.5% also. So Wellington certainly moving more than the country in a whole. Now, again, on a month-to-month basis, these numbers can also bounce around a little bit, so I find it more instructive or more useful to pay attention to the 3 monthly results. But even there, Wellington region over the last 3 months, November, December and January fell in value by about 4.3%. Again, if you look at the 1 year result, 12%, 12% increase. Now, if you recall, 12 months ago, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, we were seeing 12-month, 1 year value increases between 30 and 40%. So this is an extremely rapid change. And if you look there at the graph of the Wellington House Price Index, the orange line shows the movement of the 3-month house price growth or the value growth, and the blue line shows the monthly. So way back in February of 2021, we were seeing over 11%. We had seen over 11% value growth in that 3-month period alone, and in the last 12 months, we've seen 12%. So that's a huge change, and you can see there in the way that those graphs have steeply come down. And as we've been saying in these videos, since around that time, March, April, May, we could see that things were starting to change and price increases dropping off quite steeply, but never before have we seen it so very much clearly as we're seeing it today in terms of the last 12 months. And that is because it has been sat there for quite some time at between sort of 1 to 2% growth over each month until the last 2 or 3 months over the last quarter, where we've actually seen price reduction in November, and then a small uplift in December, and then reduction again in January, leading overall to the 3-month result of minus 4.3% for Wellington. Again, if you compare it to New Zealand, minus 0.9% for the 3 months to January for the whole country. So Wellington is leading the charge, if you like. We are seeing price reduction or the slowdown happen sooner and faster than the rest of the country on the whole. But then again, we did see Wellington, as compared to other main centres, come out of the blocks more aggressively as we came out of lockdown. So we increased more aggressively and faster, and so similarly we have seen the pullback happen more aggressively and faster than most other main centres around the country. So interesting times. We have seen a much more modest price rise or value rise over the last 12 months than we've seen for some time, and indeed prices have fallen over the last 3 months. Let's look now at new listings volumes. So this is the supply side of the equation. So in January 2022, 717 new listings versus 601 January 2021 and 628 the year before that, 2020. So we're seeing significantly more new listings come to market than we've seen in the past couple of years. This is again great news for buyers. For sellers, it means there's more to compete with in terms of getting your property noticed by the buyers out there. You have to fight harder for their attention. So again, you can see in that red line there, that's the 6-month moving average. You can see over the last couple of years, that red line has slowly drifted upwards. So we are slowly seeing more and more properties come to the market in Wellington. So on the supply side, we are seeing increases in new listing volumes. On the number of sales side of things, 316 in the month of January 2022 versus 290 a year ago and 413 2 years ago. Now, bear in mind here, folks, that January is a rather unusual month for sales. It is very typically very much lower sales volume than most other months in the year. For obvious reasons, there aren't many new properties coming to the market at the end of December and the start of January. There's not a lot. Not as much to choose from, and buyers are all on holiday. Nonetheless, if we compare it to a year ago, we're seeing a small uplift compared to January 2021. Again, I wouldn't read too much into this because the numbers are much, much lower, and so it's the numbers can swing around on a proportional basis much more easily. But 23% fewer sales taking place than we saw January 2 years ago. And overall, if we look at the 6-month moving average, on average 646 sales a month for the last 6 months versus 730 on average for the same 6-month period, January 2021. So definitely we are selling fewer properties in Wellington than we were this sort of time last year on average. Again, you can see the trend quite clearly if you look at that red line, the 6-month moving average. For many, many years, you've seen that the number of sales did slowly drop off as we came out of the start of the boom in 2016. Then, of course, as we came out of lockdown, the number of sales shot back up again in sort of mid-2020. And since then, it has slowly been tracking downwards again. So we've seen overall more properties coming to the market, and we've seen fewer sales. So fewer sales leaving the market. And so overall, what you expect to see is, of course, that means overall inventory supply, gross supply on the market will then tend to swell. Median days to sell, again, this is a reasonably consistent picture. We've seen in January 2022, 49 days to sell in Wellington versus 37 a year ago and 38 2 years ago. So now, again, January is an unusual month. January typically sees properties taking longer to sell than in other months of the year because most of the things that sell in January came on in December, the first half of December, and so it is typically taking a longer time for them to sell. They're the ones that didn't sell before Christmas came along, that sort of thing. So January is always significantly longer to sell than other months in the year, but nonetheless, 49 days versus 37 or 38 in 12 months ago or 24 months ago is still a significant uptick. Again, if you look at that red line, you can see it's a nice, gradual and definite move in the upwards direction, things taking longer to sell, and indeed in the last few months that red line has gotten a bit steeper again. So certainly it's taking longer to sell in Wellington over the last 6 to 9 months or so. The amount of inventory we've got on the market. Now remember folks, this is measured as a number of weeks worth of supply. How many weeks would it take to sell everything we've got on the market now if properties continue to sell at the same rate and no new listings come on? So it's measured as a number of weeks worth of inventory. And in January 22, we saw 14 weeks worth of inventory versus 7 a year ago and 8 2 years ago. And again, you look at those at that graph there, you can see the blue line represents the monthly results. 14 weeks is a massive increase from where we were at in December or indeed November and previously as well. Typically, since lockdown, we've seen as low as 4 weeks. We've had a lot of months where we've seen 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It's been a very long time since we've seen 14 weeks worth of inventory. In fact, the last time we saw 14 weeks worth of supply was way back before the boom even started in June 2015. So this is quite an alarming change, and a massive change even from back in December, where we had 9 weeks worth of supply. So you can see that level of inventory has increased significantly, and obviously that is a function of more stock coming on and fewer sales taking place. Trade Me listings, you can see the same thing here, rather an aggressive change here. So 2,459 listings. Now I did this data about a week ago now, so it's not fully up to date as of right now today, sorry. But as of about a week ago when we were recording this, 2,459 in February 2022 versus 1,082 same time a year ago. That is a 127% increase in the amount of stock we've got now over what we had a year ago. Put another way, for every 4 listings we had on the market in Wellington a year ago, today we have about 9. So that is over double the choice available out there for buyers. Again, if you look at the graph there, you can see that result happening in the blue lines there, the monthly results. It has been increasing significantly. That does tend to happen though as we come into spring and summer. That's a seasonal thing. The red line, however, shows that on average over the last 6 months, even that, when you average it over 6 months, that has been increasing significantly. We are well past the trough, the low point now, and indeed it was how long ago has it been since we've had this much supply on Trade Me in Wellington? It was way back in February 2016. So we have gone back a very, very long time in terms of the general shape and the general sentiment of the market. We haven't seen these sorts of numbers happening pretty much throughout the entire length of the boom in Wellington. So very interesting times indeed. Just a reminder, folks, in terms of how we're operating in COVID red, Lowe Co is open, as are most agencies. We're all pretty much strongly encouraged to work from home. Some open homes require vaccine passes, some don't. It will clearly say in the marketing which is the case. If you're nervous about attending an open home, then just ask the agent for a private inspection. That should be all good. So in terms of back to the market, folks, in summary, prices have fallen in Wellington over the last 3 months. New listings are up versus a year ago and 2 years ago, and up quite significantly. Sales volumes in January were up slightly versus January the previous year, and down versus 2 years ago, but overall over the last 6 months we've seen a significant reduction in the number of sales taking place. Duration to sell is up, and up significantly versus last year and the year before. Inventory is up massively. We've seen more inventory in January than we saw in any time since June 2015, and the Trade Me listing volumes pretty much a similar situation, more than we've seen since any time since February 2016. So we certainly are in a changing market. If you're a buyer out there, this is fantastic news. Get in amongst it if you can, if you still can raise the finance, because certainly those CCCFA rules are making raising the finance quite a bit more difficult. But if you can raise some money, get in amongst it. There's a good opportunity with good choice for good buying right now. Thanks for checking in. It's Adam at Lowe Co. If you do want an appraisal or any other advice, you know how to get in touch with me. Cheers. See you next month.